welcome back to Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new Sacred Union Energy Update, where we look at the energies for the Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine, and the Union energies. Do make sure that you're taking this for your inner masculine and feminine energies, for the masculine and feminine in a partnership, so that you can have more compassion for each other and understanding of what each might be experiencing on their journey, or for the collective global energies as well, because masculine and feminine energy is in everything and we are experiencing a global ascension. I want to start off, as I usually do, by just kind of sharing a little bit about what I've been experiencing as the Divine Feminine. And I say this because I usually start this way. This is how I've always been called to share in my work and share my readings and do my channelings, not just with these readings, but in everything that I do. In my work, in my writing, in everything, I'm called to share some of my own experiences. And it's because this is how we connect with each other. It's because this is how it resonates. And so, and I always say I'm on the journey just as much as you guys. I'm part of the collective as well. And so my experiences might add just another layer to what you're experiencing, and yet another layer to what we channel as we go through this reading. So you can go ahead and skip ahead to the reading if you'd like, or you can hang out and just see if these energies resonate with you as well. It's been an interesting past couple of weeks. I've been very focused on my business. I've been very focused on projects. I've been very focused on work and even nurturing of myself. And it's interesting because while I have been almost like distracted or focused elsewhere, as you guys have noticed, I haven't been doing a lot of these collective readings. I haven't felt called to. The energy, however, has been there. It is visceral. When I say visceral, it is like there. You guys have heard me say that, especially when I was in Europe, I was feeling the masculine energy. I was even experiencing, in some ways, that masculine presence. Very powerful experiences when I was in Europe. I share a lot of that on the blog and in some past readings. However, I was very self focused. And it was one of the first times in my life, really, that I allowed myself to be very present in the experience and the travels, and just really enjoying myself in that state of presence, focused on myself, what I was experiencing, etc. However, when I got back, that was a little bit of a different story, because when I returned, maybe about a week or two after, I started to feel the energetic presence of my counterpart. Now, over the past year, I've really battled with my own ego. I've really battled with myself and my own self doubt. And you guys have heard that in my readings. When I am channeling, I connect directly to God's source, and my spirit team. And so, as I'm channeling, my egoic mind, my conscious mind, kind of takes a step back, and I am translating the energy that I'm receiving. Um, and what we channel is very different from what my physical reality is. What I channel is very different from what my ego is saying is happening. And so I've had to learn, especially over the many years of this journey and of this work, is how to trust myself and how to trust in what I'm channeling. It's almost like I say all the time, I have no choice, because it's very different from what my ego mind wants to say. My ego mind wants to say, well, it's done, it's over, I'm moving on, I'm moving forward. This person was just a karmic, or he was just a catalyst, etc., etc., etc. You guys have heard me battle with myself, especially over this past year, because I have experienced the past 2 years. It was a very challenging situation with regards to my personal situation, and so what I was feeling and experiencing within myself was very different than what the physical reality was showing me. And so I've had to learn to trust in myself and how to trust in my intuition, even with that acceptance of, okay, this is what the physical reality is, but I'm also trusting within my what's in my heart. And it's been a battle for me. It's a very hard balance to have, because you have to have that level of acceptance. You have to have that level of surrender. You have to have that level of releasing expectation, releasing outcome. You have to have this energy of bringing it back to yourself, so that you are making sure that you're honoring yourself. And that's what the twins, that's what this journey, sacred partner, whatever you want to call it, the twin energy, it's an energy, and it's a label. It's how we understand the soul connection that we're feeling as different from other soul connections that we might have. But it can be very challenging because it's very different than what we have known in the past. It's very different template from anything that we've experienced before. And it really requires you to trust in yourself, and go within, and do that inner work, and do that shadow work, and do that light work, and just do that healing work, or that remembrance work. And so it's really a challenging journey. And so for myself, I have been in a place of feeling one thing and experiencing something else in my physical reality. And because I'm experiencing something else in my physical reality, I've had to really learn how to accept, surrender, release, and move forward. And moving forward, a very different energy from moving on. It's moving forward and allowing myself to open up to whatever potentials, whatever outcomes, whatever possibilities come in. And I feel like that's where I've been. And it's a layered energy of peace and inner joy and balance. When I say, I don't know how to articulate this energy, but I know that many of you are feeling it. And this is that inner union. It is that oneness with the self. And for myself, I know I've gone back and forth of, is my person my twin? What do I call him? He's not a friend anymore because he's not in my experience anymore. He's not my partner. He's not my person because we don't have a relationship. Um, he was a catalyst for my ascension. He was, in essence, he served as like this twin for me, this twin energy, and I still believe that. It's not so much a desire for belief. It's not a belief that I want to have. I was talking to a friend and I'm like, I don't want to be experiencing him. I don't want to be on this journey. I don't know any divine feminine who was actually on this journey, who ever wanted to be on this journey. Especially as the journey began to unfold. I don't know anybody who is actually, on this twin flame journey, or who connects to a twin flame energy, who actually desired that, because it is a very difficult and challenging experience. Um, and I remember saying to a friend that I don't want to be feeling him again, but I am. And over the past couple of weeks, I have come to this place of acceptance within me of, yes, I consider him my twin. Now, what I've had to do is I've had to release old beliefs around what the journey was, or what I thought the journey was. And I've come to this place of just unconditional love for him, and feeling like I don't need anything from him. Um, and it doesn't mean that I won't ever stop. How do I say this? There will always be that heart connection. Where in my heart, I will always feel like he's in some semblance my person. I will always feel like I wanted this to work out. I will always feel like he's a person that I feel most at home with, that I have felt most compatible with. Um, Not only did he catalyze me to this new version of myself, I mean, obviously, like, you're the ones that are doing the work, but they are the ones that are catalyzing you to that. Just as you're catalyzing them, they might not know it, but energetically, you're catalyzing them to be the best version of themselves. And they've catalyzed you to be the best version of yourself. And that's the beautiful partnership. And it's happening on the higher level. You guys know that I've always channeled on that higher level from the energetic level. And when we bring it down to the 3D, that's where it gets kind of gobbly gooky. That's where it gets kind of wibbly wobbly. That's where it gets kind of fucked up, right? Um, but on the highest level, there is that energy of connection, and there is that energy of love, and it's an unconditional love that you have for each other, and that's where you trigger each other. It's that those triggers are to clear out all of that, what I like to call soul sludge, in order to come back home to yourself. And they're actually saying, come back home to yourselves. And it's yourself as one, because you are one. But it's about bridging the two. It's about recognizing there is no other. That is you. And so when they're saying bringing it home to yourselves, it's like it's plural, like there's two, but it's like you're bringing it home into that oneness, and that's what the union energy is. It's that oneness. And so for myself, I've reached this point in my journey the past couple of weeks where I've let go of needing any kind of relationship from him. There's always going to be that want. I'm never going to deny that about myself, that I wish that it had turned out differently, that I wish we could have had that relationship. But I don't desire that anymore. I don't need that anymore. There's no attachment or hook there anymore. I feel very at peace and I still feel connected with him. And I feel like that's enough. It's enough. Oh, gosh, this is going to make me cry. It's almost like it's enough to know that we loved each other and I will always believe that love was real. And it's enough to know that we were in the world at the same time and had the beautiful chance to meet each other. It was enough. And I can't it's almost like there was an old belief there of no, he's your twin, so you have to be with your twin. I don't believe that. I don't necessarily buy into that. I think that's where for myself I was holding myself back for years. When I was actually in a relationship with him, I thought it had to be one way because this is divine love, this is true love, this is you. But because it's you, because it is your twin, yes, it could work out. I don't want to deny that. Yes, it could work out that we end up in a physical, lifelong partnership with each other. That there could be everything that you want and desire in the 3D, such as marriage or family or work partnership, building or creating something together. Whatever it is that you want for your life, adventure and travel and family and children, or whatever it is that you desire in the 3D. There's nothing wrong with having a desire for those experiences because you are a human meant to have those experiences. But from the higher perspective, it's about just loving. And that love is enough. And I've reached that point in myself and my own journey. It's very hard to articulate. um I don't know how to articulate this feeling. It just feels like peace. And there's still some remnants and residual energy of stuff that I'm working through, but it's just this energy of peace. Now, I'm going to bring it back to where we are now, or where I am now. So, a couple of weeks ago, I had a dream that he and I were reunited, and I have shared this dream in one of the recent Sacred Union Energy updates. He and I were reunited. We saw each other like across the room, and he just lit up when he saw me. And it wasn't a first meeting. This was after everything that had transpired, where we experienced a lot of challenges and even toxicity, our separation, what led us to our physical separation. Physical separation. I'm going to put that clear, because again, that energetic, there is no separation. Energetically, there is no separation at the apex, at the highest level, right? There's never a separation at the highest level. That's the illusion. Separation is the illusion. But there is a physical no contact, and we've been in that for about a year now, over a year now. And so I had this dream where we were in the present moment, in the present day, but we were meeting, we were reuniting, and it was a little bit surprising to both of us. But the love was there in each other's eyes. And when I looked into his eyes, he just smiled so widely, but genuinely, sincerely, joyfully. He was genuinely and sincerely happy to see me. And there was just love pouring out of him. And I said to myself, what the hell? I was very taken aback because that was not the reaction that I expected at all. And even the energy that I was feeling, there was no hint of a mask there. And I said to myself, I have not seen him this happy in a very long time, maybe even since the beginning of our journey together. I had not been seeing him this authentically joyful and happy, especially to see me again, because we've been through so much together, and so much of it had been challenging. So I had that dream, and I sat with that for a while, and I processed that energy, and I talked a little bit about that in the Sacred Union Energy update, and how we went for a walk, and it was almost like a new foundation or a new beginning was forming. Well, then a couple of days after that, I had another dream, and I haven't talked about that yet, but that dream, he was almost like an old version of himself, where he was very passive, He was very inconsistent, in and out. He was withdrawn. He was avoiding me. There was a lack of affection, which was very painful. Um, it was just it was it was very repulsive energy. It didn't resonate at all. Like it was very, it didn't feel good at all. And I woke up, I'm like, what the hell was that? Especially on the heels of this other beautiful dream. Then a couple of days after that, I had another dream, and in this dream, I was reading some kind of letter or something, and it felt like a closure. It felt like a final goodbye, and I only remember like the last few energetic minutes of the dream. And as I woke up, there was a sadness and there was an acceptance, because in the dream I said to myself, I'm never going to hear from him again, am I? And I don't know if I was posing the question to somebody or if I was posing the question to God or to myself, but I said, I'm never going to hear from him again. I'm never going to see him again. This is it. And again, I woke up with a little bit of a sense of sadness, but also the sense of acceptance. And it was like I was holding these two emotions in my hands. I was holding these two emotions in myself. And it was almost like I was allowing myself to feel the sadness within that acceptance. So I had these very strange three dreams, very different three dreams. And I asked my spirit team, I said, what is this? And they brought to me that this was different timelines that I could choose. And anywhere where I was feeling powerless or anywhere where I was feeling helpless, I could choose. Um, which one of these timelines did I want? And I realized that I had kind of been going back and forth between the last one and the first one. Definitely didn't like the middle one. We're not accepting the middle one anymore. That was an old version of me. That was an old version of him. That was an old version of me accepting that old version of him. Um, but the second one, or I mean the third one, that acceptance of never seeing him again, it was almost like I understood that I'll always feel connected. But the energy of the first dream, in my heart, that's what I always wanted. In my heart, I always wanted us. And not us from a standpoint of maybe the 3D that we know of in connections and templates and relationships, but there was always something about us. There was always that connection. There was always that love. Um, and so in my heart of hearts, I made that choice. But I feel like I'm also in this place of acceptance. I'm not holding on to that. I'm just holding on to that love. And I don't want to even say holding on. It's just, there's just love now. There's just love. And that's how I like to imagine him now. In that energy of authentic love and authentic joy and care and happiness. Because he was healthy, like he was the best version of him. He was successful in, you know, whatever way he wants to be successful. When I mean successful, I mean like he was in his highest potential. He was in his highest embodiment because he was choosing that. And that's not something that's like a level of perfection. It was just, he was just fully who I've always known him to be underneath, who I've always seen in him. He was just love. I've always seen him as love. And here in this dream, he was embodying that. And it was beautiful. And I'm like, that's him. I remember saying in the dream, that's him. That's my person. That's who I've always known him to be. And it's like that's who I saw in him that night that we met, or that night that we were activated, because we've known each other for a very long time, but I mean the night that we met and everything began, our journey began. That's who I've always seen in him. And that's who I've always loved. And I've always loved every version of him. But there are certain aspects of those versions, because there were certain aspects of those versions within myself that I just can't tolerate anymore or accept. Because that meant me abandoning myself. That meant me dishonoring myself. And I, of course, always take ownership and responsibility for my role and my part, because I was not perfect in our connection either. You know, I was impatient. I didn't understand this journey. I didn't understand this connection. And so there were places where I was impatient. There were places where I was trying to unconsciously control. There were places, and I say unconsciously, and I'm emphasizing unconsciously because I wasn't aware that that's what that was, that I was holding on so tightly. And holding on so tightly is trying to control situations, trying to understand situations that felt wildly crazy and out of my control. This journey felt out of my control. Um, and it wasn't for a very long time that I really understood energetically what it's about. And it's about you. It's about coming home to yourself, and your partner is a huge part of that because they catalyze you to that. They show you yourself. And he definitely showed me myself. He helped me heal my mind. He helped me come alive again. And that's where I have nothing but love and gratitude now for all of the shit we've been through. I've reached a place where I have literally nothing but love and gratitude for him. And it's the wildest thing considering what we've been through. It's the wildest thing. I never thought that I would ever be able to feel like this. And I understand now that this is what unconditional love is. It's not unconditional tolerance. It's not unconditional acceptance of poor behaviors or dishonoring behaviors, because you're also unconditionally loving yourself. And you cannot love another person unless you love yourself. And I always used to say that to him because he always used to say to me, love yourself, Susan, love yourself. Like he was always trying to show me the mirror back to myself. And I remember so many times I said, I can't love you unless I love myself. Because I did have a healthy level of self love through my own individual journey before we were activated, before I met him. I had been on my own journey of self love, but he brought me deeper into that. He showed me where my scars were. He showed me where my shadows were, where I was still kind of hiding from myself, in essence, where I was still holding myself back, where I was still dishonoring myself. He showed me myself in that way. And that level of love for him is just so deep because that level of love for myself is just so incredibly deep. I said in one of the recent readings that, as much as we love other people, you have to love yourself just a little bit more, because that is honoring yourself. And the more that you unconditionally love yourself and connect with yourself, the more you're able to tap into that energy for others. Think of it like this. Think of it like, um, when we're in pain, and our unconscious state of being, when we're in pain, we don't want anybody else to hurt, but we want people to understand us. And so we unconsciously reflect that back into our relationships, and we unconsciously end up maybe hurting other people because we're in so much pain. But the more we're in our own state or healed state and our conscious state of unconditional love, the more that love just expands and ripples out into more generosity and compassion and patience. The more we want to lift people up, because we're not in that unconscious, unhealed state anymore. We're not in that wound. We're not sitting in that wound. He helped me come alive again, and I will always feel grateful to him for that and love him. And more than loving him for how he's helped me, but just loving him for who he is. Because, especially if it's a twin connection, because I love me. And not in like a vain way. That sounds so like, ugh. But I mean like the level of unconditional love, being unapologetically you now, being in your authentic self and feeling the peace of really coming home to yourself. That's what I mean by loving yourself. That's what I mean by loving yourself. I mean coming home to yourself. So, what's interesting is his energy has just been so visceral. And it's interesting because I've talked to a number of soul sisters and clients who are feeling the same thing. Like the twin presence is here. It is here. Like it is not going anywhere. It is very visceral to the point where I would look at my phone again. This has happened many times over the years. I would look at my phone, I'd be like, he's going to call, or I'm going to run into him, or something's going to happen. I actually had some indirect communication that came out of the blue, and it's like that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, things that happen. So I feel like the twin energy is very much here. And I feel like a lot of that is because the divine masculine is going through their ascension. And not going through their ascension is in a dark night. I feel like they're on the other end of the dark night. At the very least, they are moving through that dark night, and they're seeing the light at the end of that. They're seeing the other side of that. They're seeing what comes on the other side of that, and really feeling into their emotions and understanding those emotions. Um, it's interesting. I have a friend who is not on the twin journey, so to speak, and in that she's not approaching her journey from the twin perspective, although it very much feels like that kind of connection. This is somebody that I know from back in my Lyme days. She's one of my best friends and has been with me for a very long time. And so what's interesting is what she shared with her connection is her partner is actually recognizing that he's going through a transformation and verbalizing that he's going through a transformation. um this it's happening. It's like everything that we're picking up on and everything that we're channeling is actually happening, and it is wild. It is crazy. Again, it's almost like I want to disbelieve it, but it's like spirits coming in being like, see, told you so. Like, if you would have just surrendered to your own belief, if you would have just surrendered to your own inner knowing and your intuition, you wouldn't have had to fight with yourself for so long. But I feel like that's, kind of par for the course, especially for the divine feminine, learning how to trust her intuition, especially as the physical seems so strange. So, twin energy is absolutely here. I feel like there are 5D unions. And that's what we're feeling, divine feminines. We're feeling our inner union, which is indicative of our 5D union. And I feel like the divine masculine is really going through their ascension, to match that. Um, and as you're anchoring into your inner union, which is the balance of, no, they wanted me to use the word oneness, which is the oneness of your masculine and feminine energies. Your masculine is naturally going through their ascension too. Now, we have been channeling, and I'm going to put this as a caveat, that there is a split in the collective, wherein for some that twin energy is going to be the original catalyst partner. For others, it's going to be a new counterpart connection. You can call it a higher level soulmate. However that resonates for you. It's going to look a little bit different for everybody. I have some clients who they have that twin connection, but they're meeting and choosing higher level soulmates, or at the very least, they are now experiencing higher level soulmates or other counterpart connections. Remember, don't be very present. Allow yourself to enjoy the journey. For myself, I still feel very open to every possibility. If that means that I'm meeting somebody new, I'll be interested in exploring that and seeing what happens with that. If that means that the original counterpart comes back, and we're getting to know each other again and the energy feels very different, I'll be interested in exploring that. Um, Allow yourself to explore, allow yourself to be very present in the journey, and that's where you release the attachment, and that's where you release the hook of the journey, because twin flame is an energy first and foremost. I have a number of teachings on that. I have the twin flame truths course or workshop that's available. I also have, in the collective messages, there are two messages about that. One is something about releasing the twin flame matrix, and something about twin flame as an energy. Um, I'll try to remember to put a link for reference in the description box. But if I don't, you can feel free to go through the playlist. And just as a note, I did reorganize the playlist on both of my YouTube channels, so you can easily find everything that you're looking for. So hopefully that's going to be a little bit more organized for you guys as well. So I want to continue here because this is big. So, the other day, I think it was just yesterday or the night before, I'm listening to music on my playlist as I am completing my course. I just launched, by the way, I just launched my tarot and translation course again. The original course came out in, like, I think 2020, but it's gotten a fresh look, it's gotten an upgrade. I re recorded everything. So, it's much cleaner, it's much more efficient, it's much more clear. And it's nicer. It's just nicer. And I also added a lot more goodies. So you have the companion workbook, you have the Arcana cheat sheet to help you learn, you have community access. We have a new community for learning tarot. available on the platform, and you also get a free printable version of my Tarot and Translation Pocket Guide deck. So lots of goodies. If you're interested, you can go to my website and look at the programs that are available. I'm really excited about that. I spent 3 months working on all of this, so I'm really excited about it. And I was hyper focused, like hyper focused, but I had music playing in the background, right? And all of a sudden this song comes on, and I'm like, what is this song? I don't remember ever hearing it. Definitely didn't remember putting it on my playlist. It's a song, well, let me get it now. It's called Don't Give Up on Me by Andy Grammer. And it's a great song. I put it on repeat, and I sent it to my friend who we share music back and forth often. And I said, "Did you send me this? Is this something that you sent me that you want me to listen to?" And I just liked it and I put it on my playlist. And they said, "No, I've never heard that song before." So I have no idea where this song came from. I don't know if I heard it once upon a time and I added it. But all of a sudden it was resonating. So it's Don't Give Up on Me by Andy Grammer. Has a pretty catchy tone. And you can tell what it's about just by the title. But the lyrics go, I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue. And I will stay with you. We'll make it to the other side like lovers do. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to interlock. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you. God, I want to sing right now because I'm not giving up. No, not yet. Even when I'm down to my last breath, even when they say there's nothing left. I'm not giving up, even when nobody else believes. I'm not going down that easily, so don't give up on me. So I felt very strongly like that was the divine masculine. And I'm actually feeling like it's both. It's like you're having a conversation within the same song to each other. I feel like it's a divine masculine saying, don't give up on me because I'm not giving up on myself and I'm not giving up on this." Now, this is not for us to reattach. This is not for us to hold on. This is not for us to say, well, that means that this is how it's going to turn out. I'm talking about like the 3D stuff. It's almost like we're releasing all of the 3D expectation and just allowing it to unfold and allowing it to be and just tuning into the love, just tuning into the connection and just letting the connection be as it is, to be what it is without these expectations for a relationship or for a partnership or for family or for a life partnership or whatever it is. We're just releasing all of that and just letting ourselves sit in that presence of love. And it's a very new sensation. It's a very strange sensation because it's a very new sensation. It feels almost foreign, but it feels so beautiful and so good. And I feel like the divine masculine is saying, don't give up on me. Don't give up on me. Don't give up on this. For some, again, there's like a little bit of a pivot. For some, it's going to be that original counterpart. For others, it's going to be a masculine in a higher consciousness that is stepping forth and that is coming through. And take that as it resonates for you, as it feels right for you in your heart. And again, you can allow yourself to explore. Maybe it is maybe you are meant to experience another connection and another conscious masculine to show you that higher version of yourself, to reflect back to you that new version of yourself as the divine feminine, the healed and conscious version of the divine feminine that you have ascended into, that you have shifted into. Because you're not that same person that you were a day ago. You're not that same person you were a few weeks ago. You're definitely not that same person that you were at the beginning of this journey. That is your evolution. And many months ago, we channeled that your sacred union is the story of your evolution, your soul's evolution. And they're once again bringing me to that oneness. Your soul being the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We cannot separate the two anymore. The two become one because it's always been one. So I have a couple of other notes. Make sure you check out that song. I'll put it, channeled song, in the description box. And let me know if you're picking up on any other energies with regards to that. But again, divine masculine, I feel, is wanting to not give up on themselves, where I feel like they have been in that pit of despair, for lack of a better word. They have been in that victimhood. They have been wallowing. They're coming out of that. They just climbed out of that, is what I'm seeing. I feel like a couple of months ago there was a huge shift. I feel like it was the 8-8 portal that really changed things. and really began their accelerated ascension. And they began that a couple of years ago. We had channeled that a couple of years ago too. But again, I feel like something happened in the collective energy where the journey itself was hijacked in some way, where it was paused, it was stalled out, and we're coming back around again to that. I talk about that in previous readings as well. Um, but it's coming back around again, and I feel like they have this renewed motivation. They're seeing the potential in themselves that maybe the divine feminine has always seen in them, but they couldn't see in themselves. And so they had just kind of sat in that victimhood. They sat in that darkness. They sat in that shadow. And now they're recognizing the light. And the light was shining on the shadow, and they were just kind of like pushing that away. They didn't want to see their own shadow. They didn't want to accept it, and they were pushing it away. But when you push away the shadow, you also push away the light. You have to integrate the two. And I just feel this masculine has just almost like just woken up a part of themselves, come alive again. And they don't want to give up on their life, on themselves, on what's important to them. And I also feel this is my ego that's like, oh my God, can I believe this? But I also feel like this is the divine masculine that does not want to give up on you, divine feminine, because I feel as if they are seeing your value. I feel as if they are seeing your love. I feel as if they are seeing your light, not on a pedestal. You are not above them, as they might have felt in the past. They might have felt inferior, or they might have been in spiritual ego and felt superior, but as an honoring of equals in that oneness. It's a really beautiful energy. It has been with me for the past 2 days since I've heard that song, and it just won't leave. Like that's why I'm doing this reading tonight, because it just won't leave. I don't want to give up. Um, I feel like this masculine wants to fight for what matters to them, and not fight as in rail against, not fight as in, tear down their life, but fight as in like from a energetically moral perspective. How do I say this? Fight as in just not giving up. Not fight as in the old toxic masculinity way. Let's put it like that. Not fight like that, but fight from a level of higher consciousness. Maybe fight is not even the right word. It's just that they don't want to give up. They don't, it's this energy of they've recognized their need to surrender themselves. And that's what half the battle was, is what I'm hearing. It was what half the battle was. They were in such resistance that, and pushing all that energy away, all that love away, all that unconditional love away, that light. They were pushing all that away. That's what the resistance was. But they had to surrender. And the minute that they allow themselves to surrender and feel and welcome that in to their heart space, I'm seeing expansion of the heart chakra. The minute that they allow themselves to do that, man, that's when they realize that they didn't want to give up, and that they want to work towards. Okay, thank you. That's a better word, not fight, because fight has that connotation of toxic masculinity, which also affixes to the energy of control and corruption and manipulation and all those lower density energies, right? We're not talking about that. Wanting to work towards and work on themselves and develop themselves and grow and evolution, those energies are what we're talking about here. They don't want to give up. They want to expand. And they want you, divine feminines, I feel, as part of that expansion, as part of their life in some way, because I feel like they're feeling that connection, whether that's as a friendship, whether that is as a relationship, whether that's as a romantic relationship and life partnership, whatever that is, it's going to be maybe a little bit different for everybody. And that's something that when you do have communication, you'll have to make sure that you're on the same page. That's the only way it's going to work, is with communication, to make sure that you're on the same page with what it is that you want from the connection. But the love, just the connection is always there. The connection between the two is very much online. The connection between the masculine and the feminine is very much online. And I feel like the divine masculine does not want to avoid or deny that connection anymore. It's interesting. I've done a lot of um, understanding of attachment theory. That's really helped me to heal and have compassion for what I might be experiencing, understand myself, and how I had, you know, gone into a little bit. I might have had avoidance attachment in the past, but I went into a little bit of anxious attachment. So I think that they call that disorganized attachment. And I experienced both with relationship. There was a desire to be close, but I wasn't entirely comfortable. Now I feel like I've grown back into my secure attachment because I feel like that's where I naturally am and have been in connection. Um, anyway, regardless, I feel like with the avoidant attachment, there's a desire for closeness, but also a real fear of that closeness because a fear of losing that sense of self. And I feel like the divine masculine understands now that they will, and the divine masculine is often the avoidant when you're thinking about in the context of runner chaser. The runner is often that anxious attachment, and the chaser, or no, the runner is often that avoidant attachment, and the chaser is often the anxious attachment, right? And so there's a healing there as well. So I feel like the divine masculine is beginning to understand themselves and understand that they have this desire for closeness and that they might push that away because they're afraid of losing themselves. And I feel like with the divine feminine, it was always different. But those old attachment fears and those old coping mechanisms would crop up. And that's just something to heal within the selves, to be aware of within the self so you can change the pattern. Like I said, I've done a lot of work on that within myself and my own patterns, and I can see that within, partnerships and connections as well. And so I feel like it's almost like what I'm seeing is like where it was like the cord, so to speak, was kind of like wibbly wobbly like this. Now it feels very even. It feels very balanced. It feels very smooth. It feels very harmonious between the two. And I feel like there's a deep desire I'm hearing for harmony to come back into the connection because the divine masculine has always desired and felt that harmony with you. But again, it was their own triggers, their own soul sludge that was coming up to the surface. Now, divine feminine, you had your own, but I'm saying for the divine masculine, they had triggers and they had soul sludge that came up to the surface, but they weren't always consciously aware of that. And I feel like now they're becoming more consciously aware, and so they're recognizing how there was always love and harmony within the connection, and they're deeply desiring that again with the divine feminine. Just a couple of things else, we're gonna move into the I think this is just going to be a channeling tonight. We're going to move into the extended reading over on the Patreon for a full reading. But I feel like this is really in depth. So I feel as if the divine masculine is really manifesting the divine feminine. I'm also hearing that the divine masculine is manifesting his life. And what I mean by manifesting, it's not wishful, it's not, well, it's obviously wishful, but it's not just wishful thinking, it's not just fantasy. This is something that they're actively working on now. They're putting in the work, they're putting in the effort for their own life. And it's a creation energy. They're creating for their life and taking action on those creations for their life. This is a masculine that is no longer staying stagnant. This is a masculine that is wanting to make change in their life. And what I'm getting is they have looked at their life, reflected on their life, and seen the choices and actions and decisions that they made for themselves. And this is where they're taking responsibility and they're taking accountability for themselves, um, for where it brought them in a period of life. For some, it's going to be stagnancy, where they're kind of stuck in status quo, where they're just stuck in the comfort zone of what they knew. For others, it might be unhappy relationships, um, what we call karmic connections, so to speak. And karmic connections get a bad rap. I always say that. This is why I do not focus on karma or karmic connections or third party connections, because every karmic connection, no matter what, will teach us. And a lot of those karmic connections, when you're looking at it from the soul's perspective, is love, right? Because you're showing each other, you're teaching each other. So karmic connections get a really bad rap. I do not believe in I mean, a lot of karmic connections can feel very toxic, but what are you learning from it? Are you actually taking responsibility for yourself and accountability for yourself? Are you taking action for yourself? Are you loving yourself and honoring yourself through those connections? Are you removing yourself or disengaging from those connections if they are toxic? And I feel like that's what the divine masculine is experiencing, is they are taking action, or beginning to take action on creating something new for their life by making new decisions, having new patterns, maybe even shifting beliefs and mindsets. There's a newness that is coming in here, and what I'm just hearing is the word rebirth. They've been going through a rebirth, and part of that rebirth comes from what we call, or what we know as, ego death. I don't like to call it ego death because it's more of like an integration of the ego. But it's you know what I mean by when I say ego death. Everybody knows what that means, so we're just going to call it that. It's a rebirth within the self. I said the divine feminine is in a place of balance between belief and acceptance, in which I mean what I was talking about within my own journey. I'm learning how to believe in my own intuition. I feel like one day I'm gonna, this isn't over. It's like the universe keeps showing me it's not over, not by the signs and synchronicities, but by things that are physically happening and the energy that I'm receiving. When I say it's not over, I mean there is a connection that I will always have with this person, and I feel like it's going to come back around in some way, shape, or form. Whatever that learning, whatever that healing, whatever that growth, or whatever that means, for myself is what I'm saying. And that might relate to you in a number of different ways. I also, so I have this knowing and this belief, and I've accepted that he is my twin. I've accepted that. I wanted to deny that myself because it felt very painful considering what we've been through, and because the journey just seems crazy sometimes, even for myself that has, this understanding of the journey, who channels about the journey, who has been on the journey. Like, it's still crazy, right? So I'm not infallible. I go back and forth too. I'm very human in that respect. But I've just kind of learned to accept it now. Um, and so there's this belief within myself of, okay, he is my twin. But what does that mean? Well, he's still not present in my life. He's still not here. We have no contact. We have no communication. It looks like a clusterfuck in the physical, and I'm accepting of that. It's okay, because in my heart, in the energy that I'm feeling, there is love. Even if there's no evidence of any love of any kind in the physical, in my heart there's love, and that's enough. Um, so, feeling the divine masculine viscerally, but from a new place of peace and love, was the last note. That was a lot. It was a lot to cover because it's been a while, and there was a lot that's happened, a lot that we're feeling, and I wanted to make sure that we covered it all. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a reading and just kind of see a little bit more on this energy that we're feeling, especially why are we feeling the divine masculine energy so viscerally, right? What's going on with the divine masculine? So let's see what's the current energy of the divine masculine. I just got the card protecting treasure, and I feel I'm not going to take these cards in a minute. I want to channel on this first. I just saw the card protecting treasure, and I feel like that's where the divine masculine is with regards to the divine feminine. I feel like the divine feminine is like that treasure, and the divine masculine is feeling very protective of her. Very protective of her. This is kind of like shocking to me, because when I try to apply it to my own life, it's like, what the hell, right? Like, this is why I have trouble believing, because I apply it to my own life. I have to trust what I channel, but then when I try to apply it to my own life, I'm like, how? But this is what we're feeling. So, or this is what we're experiencing. So what's going on for the divine masculine right now? What's going on for the divine masculine? We have listening. Oh, and we have details. I'm getting two messages here. So number one is they're really starting to tune into themselves, their higher insight, their higher self. They're paying attention. I'm also feeling like they are paying attention to the details. And by this I mean there's almost this element of strategy about this. It feels like they are moving forward in some way. Again, like we channeled in the first part, really beginning to make changes for themselves, really beginning to set the ball in motion as far as forward movement and changes in their life. But they're paying attention to the details now, as far as making sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, that kind of thing. But they're doing so from trusting their intuition, which is very interesting because I don't feel like they had done that in the past. This is really wanting to make it work, is what I'm hearing, and wanting to make it right. And this is not just about your connection. When we're talking about the divine masculine, understand that your connection is a natural byproduct of what they're experiencing for themselves. But this is for their life as a whole. That's really important to understand. You're naturally connected to them, so they're naturally feeling this way about you. But this is overall about themselves and their life. They're wanting to make their life better. They're wanting to make their life work. They're wanting to transform themselves. This is a really beautiful energy. We're going to stop there and get more with the tarot. I'm really getting drawn to tarot tonight. But let's see what's going on for the divine feminine coming to life. This is a new version of yourself. This is a new level of embodiment. And I remember when I said in the channeling that it might feel a little bit strange and foreign. It's because you've been reborn too, divine feminines, and you're coming to life in a new way. What I'm seeing is the caterpillar bursting forth from the cocoon. Now, what I'm also hearing is this was a little bit of a struggle. So when a caterpillar turns into the butterfly and the butterfly breaks free from the chrysalis, it's like, okay, they're giving me, so there's two metaphors here. So the one is the butterfly breaking through from the chrysalis. It takes effort to break through from that chrysalis, right? Similar to uh, like a baby bird that's being born from an egg, he has to break through that shell, right? That protective layer. I feel like that's where you've been. You've been breaking through that protective layer, letting down the guard and coming to life again in this energy of unconditional love for yourself, this oneness energy, this connection energy. This is a brand new energy. It's really, really beautiful. I'm just getting drawn to the rainbow energy that is here around her as well. And I feel like you're very much anchored into that rainbow matrix. The rainbow matrix is that new earth energy. We've channeled that on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections. You can find that channeling. I think we actually call it the Rainbow Road or something like that, something about the rainbow. You can check that out as well. Oh, there's that protecting treasure energy, see? And let's see union energy. What do we have for the union energy? Thank you. Making a choice. I feel like this for the two of you. Remember when I said in my channeling it's like 3 different dreams, making that choice? It's about trusting yourself. What is it that you want? But coming at it, making that choice and from that desire without the expectation, without the attachment to the outcome. But what is it that your heart truly desires? I feel like that's what it is. And it's like almost like no matter what, both doors lead to home, essentially. Both doors lead to love. But you have to allow yourself to make that choice. For myself, I knew immediately I didn't want door number 2. Door number 2 felt like an old energy of him and of me. Door number 3, there was an energy of sadness and acceptance. I feel like I'm never going to talk to him ever again in this life. And I'm sad about that, but I'm also accepting of that. Is that what I want? No. What did I really want? I want door number 1. For us to at least have that honoring of the connection and the love that we have with each other, no matter what that looks like for our relationship. That's what this energy feels like. Okay, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a preview, just a little bit of something for what might be happening with the energy right now in a reading. So we're going to move over to the Patreon and go deeper into the details. We're going to get some tarot. We're going to see what's challenging the situation and what might be helping to move it forward and transform it, and how you're feeling about each other. So feel free to join us over there. If not, then we'll be back later with another Sacred Union Energy update, hopefully later this week. And make sure that you're checking out our programs. And I have just launched the 2024 year ahead readings, so you can feel free to check those out and book if you would like to get the 2024 year ahead. Okay, so I'm sending lots of love and lots of light, and we'll see you soon.